Hello and welcome to Two Whole People. I'm your co-host, Connor.
And I'm Kevin.
And as a part of these vids that we've been doing, I think it's also probably important to tell people why we have any authority to talk about these things, like at the beginning.
Yeah, maybe.
So I am a data engineer. I've been that for about 4 years. I've also worked a bit in the BI space. I have a data science master's, and before that I got my bachelor's degree in computer science. So that's my tiny intro.
Nice. Yeah. I work as basically a software engineer, web development, full stack for a small tech company, a startup. But before that, I was a data engineer and data analyst is what they called me. Basically a business intelligence developer. And also I got my bachelor's degree at the same place he did in computer science.
Canyon U.
Yeah, it was great.
Yep. Also, Kev has people that work for him, so he also has more experience in the managerial role than I do.
That is true. Those
So-
poor people.
Yeah, it's poor.
If you're watching this, like I told you to do,
Make sure to press that like button because you have to.
like and subscribe. I'm going to put it in your sprint.
All right. I think that's a long enough intro. So for this video, what we wanted to talk about was job interviews. More specifically, tips that we have for, and I don't know if you can hear that, it's the dog in the background barking. I think they think we're talking to more people. That's okay.
Yeah,
I doubt that that'll actually come through the mic, so it's fine.
we'll get her on mic next time.
Yeah.
She can add to the discussion.
Actually, we would get more views, I'm sure, if we brought her in.
100%.
So we may do that at some point. But anyway, job interviews. We've gone through a few. We've actually gotten jobs in the software space. So
Yeah.
that's the authority that we're kind of speaking from, is we have actually gotten a few jobs.
We did it.
Yeah,
succeeded.
we were accepted. So we'll be speaking through the experiences that we've had, and we'll try to distill what we've gone through down to a few tips that may or may not be helpful, may or may not be completely obvious to most of you,
Yeah.
most of the 10 of you that are watching.
Yeah.
But, there might be a few of you that don't know about this at all or have no experience, and this is more for you guys. So,
Yeah.
all right. Tip number 1. If there is a competency test of some sort, you need to prepare for it. And there's a few specific ways to prepare that I think
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about. But and when I say a competency test, I should probably detail out what I mean by that. I just mean if it's a SQL test or something, if you're vying for a job that would require that skill set. So if there's a coding test of some sort, I think is mainly what we mean.
Yeah.
Then you need to prepare for it. I don't care if you think you know how to code, or you think that you'll kind of just make it up on the fly. It's like, look up on Google what are the common questions asked by these types of tests. Read through those. Make sure you can actually answer them. Make sure you would be able to think through them and code them on the fly in front of people, which means you really have to have that knowledge beaten into your head, because it's a lot harder to kind of bring that up when there are people in the room
Yeah.
who are expecting you to do well. So
Yeah. For the competency tests, definitely look up what are the common skills that they expect you, because not everything's going to have the exact same question. It's not like looking up your math homework on Chegg.
there's just the thread of you being a cheater through all of these.
So look up the common skills that they're looking for in that position, and the common things that they're looking for in interviews for those types of positions. For instance, I took a SQL competency test for a job I did not get, and I did not look up the common skills. So everything that I looked up, and when I was just running through courses on, I think it was my Code Academy or something like that. One of those.
Code Academy.
Yeah, Code Academy.
Is a great source.
And HackerRank, and
That's also a good one.
Those kinds of things.
Solo Learn is one that we used when we were in college.
Gotta love Solo Learn.
I don't know if it's a thing. I mean, I'm sure it is a thing.
I'm sure it's still a thing. And even Khan Academy, I think, is starting to do
more coding stuff.
Yeah, more coding stuff, which is, they're great.
Khan Academy is perfect for every math course that you will ever take.
Yeah, and then you might not have to look up your answers on Chegg, like I did.
Because you can actually learn how to solve the problems.
But yeah, so I was going through these courses and I was like, okay, I'm totally prepared. But I would solve the question, or I'd solve the answer, but it wouldn't be the way that they wanted me to, because I wouldn't display those certain problem solving skills that they were looking for. So make sure that you look up those certain things that they look for in your code for the competency test beforehand. And there are really specific ways sometimes that they want you to solve certain, for me it was queries, but it could be, anything like writing for loops or things like that. And then also, not every competency test is going to be coding. They might just ask you like just a problem solving question. So look up common ones of that for developer interviews.
Yeah. And the best way to learn about these things, to learn about how to pass these tests, to learn about how to be competent enough to pass these tests in an abstract way, as opposed to just, I know the answers to this one specific set of things. The best way to learn how to do that is just going to be to go to the interviews themselves, prepare as much as you can. But then, if you don't do well at a couple, that's okay. I think before I got my first job, I applied to like 50 jobs or something. I talked to people on the phone a couple times, and that didn't really lead to much.
Yeah.
And then there was one where I talked to them on the phone, and then they called me in, and then I prepared as much as I could. I passed the interview. I passed the test that they gave me there, and then they extended an offer. But it took a long time, and it took, especially, and this is out of college, so it just it takes a while, especially if you don't have any on-the-job experience. You're vying against people who have on-the-job experience, and they're just going to pass you up in terms of competency just because they have on-the-job experience. But so just, if you fail a couple times, that's the best way to learn the types of things that they will ask you in the future, so you can better prepare yourself. But before you go to each one, you should try to prepare yourself as best as possible in terms of, if there's going to be a test in Python, then prepare as much as you can for that test. Yeah,
like common Python. Just Google like common Python interview questions, and you'll probably see at least 2 of those on your competency test.
Tons of blog posts and stuff online about all that stuff, so I'm sure you can find a bunch of resources just to cram.
Yeah.
Which will actually, I think, be helpful, because it was helpful to me. So, okay, so this next one is going to be a simple one, but just a lot of devs might not, they might think, in terms of like the previous tip we gave, all right, we need to be as competent as possible for coding. We need to know everything we can about the tech side, and that's how we'll get hired. This tip is you need to actually look up some of the information about the company, do a bit of research there on that front, just what the company does, how they make money, what their market share is. That I think can go a long way, because you can really impress a lot of people if you go there and the amount of employees that they have in that state or something. It's like that'll go a long way.
Yeah. I mean, things that I know that we've asked people in interviews for our company is, we're in the medical device technology space. So people who know a little bit of information about our industry, not just our company, because our company is small, but about our industry, that's huge. Like, that is a huge get up to the front of the line kind of answer. Because when we say, I don't know if you know anything about the medical device industry, and somebody says, well, actually, I do, that's going to put them to the front of the line. So if you guys can look up, what industry they're in, not just tech, but like, are they in like the data engineering space? Are they in like the finance space? Are they in selling cars? Just whatever industry they're in, and look up some information about that, like what is like the total, what's that called, total amount of revenue that industry
just
produces.
the profit margin for the company or for the
industry, for the whole industry. I don't remember what that's called.
I don't know all the economic terms, but
see, I wouldn't pass an interview right now. I wouldn't have figured it out.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it like the percentage of GDP?
Something like that.
The specific industry.
It's like the specific amount of revenue that the industry does. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
They always quoted about the tech industry about how it's like $300 billion or whatever.
Oh yeah. I'm sure it's something. I'm sure we're close to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's good enough.
Good enough.
But yeah, I mean, it's what I think what is happening also. And you might think, well, that's not fair if I know so much about the tech side and then there's another person who comes in and they know less about the tech side, but they know about the business more than they like. For some reason, the people who are trying to, hire a new person might want the person who knows a bit about both more than they would want a person who knows just a lot about the IT space, but not really much about the business.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, what I think is happening there is they're seeing the person who knows about both as a person who can become more of an autonomous type of employee, where it's like they're going to think about what the best things for the business are and then use the IT knowledge that they have to actually do those things, as opposed to someone who you're going to constantly have to handhold, the whole time. So if you show some sort of interest in the business and in how the business makes its money and how the business produces value for the customers, then I think that shows that you're the type of person who's going to, try to find ways to make the business better, not just code as efficiently as possible, which is very important, especially when the role is a software role.
Yeah.
But both is better.
Yeah.
So
the business is going to see you more as an investment if you show interest in what in the industry and what the company does, because they're betting that you're going to bring more value as you get more immersed and learn, rather than as like just a straight up cost of, just a developer, just somebody who's going to spit out some code, because that's just going to open more doors for you down the road, because you're going to be promoted more often. You're going to have a chance at moving up, taking on more responsibility, because they're going to see you in that light, rather than going into an interview knowing nothing about what the business does and showing no interest. They're going to just see you as, okay, this person only codes and that's all they're ever going to do. And, it's unfortunate, but that's how people think. And that's kind of how you have to run a business, is you have to invest in where you see the value.
Yeah. And I mean, you, Kevin, probably know that even more than I do, because your role, you actually have to manage, you actually have to make more business decisions. You have people above you that are just business people that do help with that, but you're doing both of the IT and the managerial stuff at the same time. So what to look for in who you want to hire.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to people who are interested. And a lot of people, there's a very fine line in an interview where you can offer kind of your ideas of how you can help the company, but also not like be a terrible person. Like be super annoying about it. Like
presumptuous jerk who thinks they know everything.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a fine line of like, hey, I saw you guys are in this space. Like, here's my experience and here's how I think like I can bring value to the company. That kind of conversation, it'll put you in the top. I mean, almost every time. Well, for a small business also, because like Amazon, it's like, okay, you don't know what Amazon does?
Yeah. So still the combo of, I've begun to look into you guys as a business so that I can provide more value, but knowing that it's going to take years before I actually understand, and this depends on the size and the scope of the business, but it's going to take years before I actually understand what the heck is going on here.
Yeah.
Because businesses are complicated.
Yeah, they are.
They're very complicated, and I mean, the business that I've worked for about 3 years now. I think I'm coming up on 3 years, and there's whole like just teams that I don't know what they do. I don't even know that they exist. There's a lot, and there's just a lot to learn. But if you show at least a little bit of interest in, actually, yeah, I know how big you guys are. I know that, you guys had, a lot of growth last year, and, I'm excited to be a part of a business that is in that upwards trajectory. And, I saw this news article about you guys, and I'm excited to, for this and that and the other. And it's like, that can go a long way, as well as nailing the tests.
Definitely.
For coding.
Yeah, nailing the tests.
Yeah.
Well, even like, that's the thing is if you apply yourself, show value in like that interest in the business, like I'm not saying your test score doesn't matter, but having a lower score on the test won't matter as much if you can like show that you can provide value even at your current skill level, because they'll train you.
Yep.
It's not like you don't get trained on the job, and like they'll invest that time in you because you showed that interest. And they'll know exactly how much time they have to invest, usually, based on your test scores. For me, it was probably way too much. That's why I didn't get that job.
But then you got, you have this.
Yeah, then I got another job.
And and then you became a manager.
It's a good time.
Dear God. Yeah. I don't. I don't know if I would want to become a person who manages other people at this point in my life, but I'm sure it's fun. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun trying to figure out, like, hey man, I'm sick. Are you though?
You just all of a sudden become the bad guy.
But then,
and then you realize, wow, these people have never been the bad guy.
Yeah,
because now I have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you try not to be a tyrant.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like we got to get work done or the company's going to not do well, and then everyone loses their job.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, also, it's like, I trust the guys that work for me enough to be like, all right, even if you are sick, I know that you'll get it done. You'll be fine. So.
That's good. So yeah, you got to be... when you go into an interview, you have to be a person that they can trust.
Yeah.
So
don't be slimy.
Don't be a slimy little turd person.
Turd person. Now we're calling our audience turd people. I think that's the second time
garbage
in this series.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why we have no audience.
Exactly.
But we do this because we like it.
Yeah.
And because at some point, we might get...
Somebody might watch this and be like, man, this
20
is 20
people watching. Wow, wouldn't that be wild?
Whoa. Smash that like button.
Third tip. We're not here to waste your time, right? Third tip.
18 minutes in, we're not here to waste your time.
Not here to waste your time. Ask some questions.
That's the
third tip. Come... And what I would say is, and this could be a part of the research that you're doing in step 2, or the tip 2 that we talked about, like prepare a list of questions to ask before you even come into the interview.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be that intense. They can be vague, or they can just like ask about, because at a lot of the ones that I've had, they leave time at the end where they ask you if you have anything to ask them. And I feel like a lot of people at that point would say, no, I'm good, and when will you call me? But if you say, yeah, I do, how would you describe the culture here at job
that's a great,
or at company A? Just stuff like that, where it's like, where
that's also a really great question too. Write that one down.
Well, because they might answer you in such a way where you don't even want the job anymore, and that's important, because you probably shouldn't take a job that you'll hate, unless you have to. But it shows them that you're trying to find a position at a company in a culture that you can actually like fit into and become immersed in, and you actually want to become involved there, and you want to play well with others, and you want to, like, questions like that are very important because it shows that you actually want to, become a part of the team. You're not just there to get your paycheck, which should be the primary reason why you get a job. So I'm not gonna. But it would also be nice if you liked the people you worked with and if you got along with them. So
yeah, and if you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. Like, I know a lot of companies put up like your responsibilities like in the job listing, but saying like, hey, like what would an average day or like look like here?
A great question. Yeah.
That's always a great question because a lot of times they'd be like, well, we do this meeting like on this day and then we do like all of these different things. And pretty soon you're like, I don't want to do that. That sounds terrible. Or like, this sounds like people are being micromanaged. Like those kinds of things. Like there's a lot of red flags you can look for and kind of probe for in those questions because, like if you're doing, like if you're having meetings every day for like 3 hours a day and you're a developer, that just doesn't add up for how much work you're going to be doing. So I would probably avoid a place like that. But also it's up to you. If that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yep. The best time to look for a job is when you have a job so that you can just go,
yeah, I don't really feel like that.
Place.
Yeah, I don't really feel great about that.
Yeah, which for if you're straight out of college, then
I don't know if people would answer this question, but I thought of another one. Like what kind of performance metrics do you measure developers by?
That's a great one because is it just kind of free form and we just kind of go based on your vibe, or
which is terrible, by the way, because if your manager doesn't like you, you're in for it.
Then you get charismatic people who rise too quick in a situation like that.
Yeah, and then they do stupid things, and they break everything, and then you have to fix it, and it's terrible.
Yeah, or is it there's a ticketing system that that they have in place, and it's the amount of tickets that you can get across.
Great question. That's a great question.
Well, like how is my performance going to be measured?
Yeah, that's a super. And are there any incentives based on performance? That's another great question. Not sure.
Say, yeah, we'll give you a paycheck every 2 weeks. And they'll go, oh,
yeah, great, But yeah, it's just the way that people measure developer performance varies a lot in this industry. So keeping an eye out for how it's measured and making sure that they have a concrete way of measuring how you're performing, and that obviously that you're prepared to meet those metrics and to do your job.
Yeah. And to enjoy doing your job.
Yeah. And
I think that's a pretty good place to probably wrap this up, unless you had any last thoughts here.
No, I think I'm good. Let's put a bow on it. I wish I had a bow.
All right.
I could actually put on it.
And the outro.
All right, we're leaving. we're going. We're gonna go eat some milk. Hit the comment button and write us a like, and destroy us down there. It'll be great.
All right, I'm stopping.